Denny in Berwyn, Illinois. You're on the air with Congressman Keith Ellison.
Hi, Mr. Ellison. I'm really concerned about the bill for Israel, that we cannot protest against Israel. I have a real hard time with that because my family fought the Nazis in the Second World War. They actually stole our homes, and my father lost his hand, and they were fighting the Germans, the Nazis, with pitchforks. And, I've talked to my dad, a couple of people about this, And, this bill, and I'm going to use the word because it's the proper word. You can't hide from it. Throwing people in jail for 20 years, because in the United States, listen, if we're going to get rid of health care and do all this other stuff, I don't even recognize this country. But if you do that, that's as close to Nazism as you can get. And that's the proper word for this. It's not improper to use that word. And my father reminded me once, a long time ago, Nazis aren't Germans. They could be anybody. It just depends what's going on and who's in power. And that's the problem. But to put a law like that, and I'm a veteran, to put a law like that, to even think about that law, to me, is a disgrace to this country, disgrace to the flag. And any Democrat that votes for this, I probably won't vote Democratic ever again, because this bill is a disgrace to freedom.
Okay.
That's what this bill is.
Congressman, are you familiar with the legislation he's talking about?
Yeah, I have been. I'm familiar with it. I'm still digging into it. I will tell you that it does raise some very scary First Amendment possibilities. And so, definitely I think it's important to highlight that so that we can all focus our attention on it.
Yeah, I noticed there's some good Democrats who signed on to this thing. I'm guessing that a lot of people just, it's a nice Israel bill, let's go for it, not realizing that there was this attack on the First Amendment inside it.
Yeah, I think that if people raise it up, talk about it, write about it, that it will give a heightened understanding to the critical First Amendment considerations there.
Yeah, and we all need to get on that. Let's see. We just have 1 minute, Congressman, before we're going to hit a break and rejoin our commercial stations. But we're still with our nonprofit stations and with Free Speech TV. In that minute, I'm curious your thoughts on the current state of affairs in the Middle East. Right.
1 minute to talk about the Middle East.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm sorry.
Let me just say this about the Middle East. The United States has historically taken a position on the Middle East, which is essentially transactional. We supported people who supported us. We made sure that there was a free flow of oil. We supported any country that supported Israel, our ally there. And we, of course, were always ready to fight anybody who was ready to fight what they identified as terrorism. Sometimes it really is terrorism. Sometimes it's more questionable, like in the case of certain leaders like al-Sisi, I believe, calls certain people terrorists because he wants to marginalize them politically and not necessarily because they're engaged in that. So we need to develop a richer network, and we need to of connectivity with the Middle East as a whole. We need to have better relationships than simply with the Saudis. We need to expand friendships and allyships beyond Israel.
Rich in Chicago, listening on WCPT. You are on the air with Congressman Ellison.
Hey, Congressman and Tom, thank you so much for the show. I've been thinking about this for a little bit, and I wonder, when a congressman takes the oath of office to support the Constitution of the United States, to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, and promote general welfare, I don't understand why health care isn't a part of that. How do we spend $1 trillion for the defense of America, for all these weapons and stuff, but not the general well-being of the public? I don't know why Democrats don't scream this at the top of their lungs, that they're sticking to their oath and protecting the people by having single payer or a health care system that provides health care for everybody, not just a few, just like we do military protection. Where am I missing it?
Well, I think you're missing it because you don't give out those of us who fight for health care every single day any credit. That's where I think you're missing it. I think there's a general sense among some that always trashing what we're doing is the right thing to do. I mean, how can you say John Conyers and Barbara Lee and Bernie Sanders and even me are not fighting for health care every single day. Of course we fight for it because it's part of the general welfare. We do it all the time. The real problem is that I talk to folks who say, how come nobody's saying anything about XYZ? And it's not true. We are saying it. I'm saying it now. I believe that it is a right to have health care access and go to a doctor when you're sick. That's why for the last 10 years I've been on John Conyers' single payer bill. I mean, but I got to tell you, I agree with you, but the problem is that there, among so many people, there is just this reflexive need to say the Democrats aren't doing this and not doing that when we're clearly doing it. Yeah. Now, we might not be doing it well enough for you. In that case, listen to Thom Hartmann, and when we say something that you think is right, be able to say, yeah, I actually heard Keith Ellison say that he believes health care is a right. He said that he believes that that right can be found in the preamble to the Constitution about promoting the general welfare. Tell somebody the good news that we're actually on your side, as opposed to say, they never are for anything. I mean, it's just not true, and it's incredibly frustrating when we can't get our own folks to even see that we're for them.
Yeah. Part of it is the media, though. I mean, it's like it's all Trump all the time, or all this or that.
No, that's true.
And they very rarely, if a Republican, for example, Al Gore just came out in favor of single payer. And
right.
if a former Republican vice president and presidential candidate had come out in favor or against any part of the Republican health care bill, it would have been national news. But
right.
when a Democrat says it, the media just ignores it.
They're like, oh, did that happen? Oh,
yeah, right.
We don't find that interesting. So, I mean, I think that I just want to say to the caller, look, man, I definitely feel you. You're not seeing and hearing enough from us. That's why I'm talking today. That's why we're doing Democrats Live. That's why we are working day and night, because there is a growing awareness that you can't just take the right position. You have got to make sure that people know what position you're taking. And that is as important as taking the position that really promotes what I believe is a constitutional right to be able to seek and get quality and affordable health care. So
Amen.
That's the deal. But we need to work together on this stuff. It needs to be a partnership. And in the day of social media, you can tweet out that the Democrats that support, $15 minimum wage, support universal health care. Gore came out for single payer. You can help us get that message out, and we need you to.
Okay. Mark in San Francisco. We're down to 90 seconds here before Congressman Ellison has to go, and we hit a hard break. So, Mark, a real quick question for the congressman.
Well, gentlemen, basically, I think the Democratic message should be there's millions of jobs already in the United States with infrastructure and green energy, and to tie the infrastructure with putting like solar panels on buildings, putting turbines on bridges, and really push for a jobs program with green energy and infrastructure. I think that's the message that would really carry well in this country.
Congressman?
I agree. Good idea. And I think a whole lot of folks agree with you. Let's trumpet that to the four corners of the universe so that the world knows the Democrats are about putting people to work and improving our infrastructure, and can do both.
How is it that, in the 45 seconds we have left here, how is it that Trump can say that he campaigned on $1 trillion infrastructure bill, and now he's talking about, privatizing our infrastructure? It's like whipsaw.
Well,
Whiplash, excuse me.
He said he was going to he could get health care to everybody, and it was going to be cheaper. That's not true.
Right.
He said he was going to, he said a lot of things that he's already reneged on. I mean, this guy wants to cut Medicaid to folks who need it desperately. I mean, I think that we got to it's hard to admit that you just got lied to and fooled. But he did fool people. It's not their fault. He told them something that wasn't true. Yeah. And so now it's time to just fess up and deal with that. And I think that a real infrastructure bill is what we need, just like the caller said.
Congressman Keith Ellison, you're doing great work as Deputy Director of the DNC and representing Minnesota and everything else you're doing. Thanks so much for being with us today, sir.
Thank you, sir. Take care. We'll see you next week, maybe.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Ellison.house.org, Democrats.org, and you can tweet him at Keith Ellison. We'll be back.